Okay. So, Joyce, in pages folder, create a folder named API, and inside it create contact.js. So, you know how when
Okay,
you
I
are,
should do that now.
yeah, you do that now. When you want to send form data, normally you pass it, through an API to some kind of backend that would actually do the work for you.
Okay.
So we are creating
There's
the
already
API.
an API folder there.
There's already an API folder. Okay, that's really give it to you by default. So inside there, just create contact.js. So I will copy this code to.
So it's empty.
There's already contact.js.
I already created it, and this stuff is there.
Oh, let me check.
Right,
Yes, they are
it's
tried
there
it.
because I copied this over to that place, so that will be modified. Okay, okay. So there's no need for me to share screen
What
now.
are we doing actually today?
What are we doing? We're sending form data.
We are sending what?
We're sending the form data. Yesterday we
To
talked about getting the
the
data from the
database.
inputs. Not really to database now. This is a contact form, so it's what we send is supposed to go to somebody's email.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So we can test it out. By the time we finish explaining this code, we'll change this to. You see, let me increase this.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. And yeah, so this is Node Mailer. This is how to use Node Mailer. Just like how you do imports in, let me say, React.
No, this is import for
this
backend though.
it's
Require.
not really import for backend per se. It's just the kind of imports that they use in common JS. Those import from so is like ES6 module style of importing.
Okay.
But this require
Okay.
is common JS style of importing. Both of them would work, but backend people are very used to this style. They don't want to change. Don't worry, they will soon change.
Is this like an API or something?
Yes, yes. So you see, let me see. Well, let me find that contact component, so you see what I'm talking about. Contact form. So submit.
Are you registered?
No.
Boss.
So in the fetch, you see /API/contact. If you're trying to send something, you send it to an API. You say fetch this API, and then you send it. So because we wrote the API here inside the same folder inside Next, you can just access it with /API/ whatever you named this file. Because this file is named contact.js, we have /API/contact.
Because it's next.
Or maybe
It's not using outside.
you say because it's Next is what?
It's not using outside API or something.
Because it's Next. Next is somewhere you can write both front end code and back end codes together. Yes. That's one sweet thing about Next. So let's.
What is next again, I beg?
NextJS. NextJS is a framework built on React.
Okay.
Yes, they do stuff
React
like
is
that.
the library.
React is the library. Yes, React is the
Next
library.
is the framework.
Next is the framework. But don't get it confused. Frameworks can also be built on frameworks. As you know, Node.js is a language, right? Node.js is JavaScript. It's a part of JavaScript. Express.js is a framework built on Node.js. Now there is Nest.js. That is a framework
I know about Nest.
built on Express. So it's a framework on top of a framework. So framework
Both
does
next
not.
and next.
Framework doesn't have to be just on top of a library or a base language.
Oh,
So I think I'll stop sharing and then Joyce will share.
Okay.
yeah, she's working from her own side.
As it should be.
Really?
You're laughing. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you see const node mailer is equal to require node mailer. That's you're basically importing node mailer into this file. And then this require.env.config. Right. Scroll down on the other side, on the left side.
On the left side.
Where you can, yeah. Is there any .env? Okay, no, I eventually use .env. Has to be somewhere there. Just a moment. Okay. Create a file in the root folder.
In the root.
Yes, root
The
folder.
only thing I remember is
Close components. Close all of them. Close all those open folders so that you'll be able to easily identify. Close pages as well. So you can just close styles. Click maybe under tailwind.js. That empty space under tailwind.config.js. The empty space.
under.
Go down, just ahead and
Yes, yes.
So now create a new file. File. .env.
The only thing I remember from back end is not to push your env file.
Good. So yeah, that's it. That's the name of the file.
Enter.
That's the name of the file. So .env file is an environment file. It's used to keep important stuff like maybe passwords. For example, now this code is going to try to access a mail account to use it to send mails to, because mails have to be sent from one account to the other. You can't send mail from something that is not a mail account. So we're going to try to access an account and use that account to be sending mails. Anytime somebody accesses the form, uses the form, it will be sent through a particular mail. So like passwords, authorization keys, all those kind of very sensitive stuff that somebody should not just see, because the rest of this code is going to go to GitHub, and it's a public repo. Somebody can just look through it and see everything inside. So but this env file will not be sent along. If you check the git ignore, look at that .git ignore down there. Open it.
Yes.
So git ignore is a list of things that should not be sent to GitHub when you are committing or pushing. So you see /node modules. That means the folder node modules and everything inside it is out. You can see it looking gray if you look to the left. Anything with a slash in front of it is a folder. Anything without a slash is a file. So they are just saying any file that ends with something like, for this .pmp.js, any file that ends with .pmp.js, ignore it, don't send it. If you go down, you see env. So that's why the moment you created env, it just became gray. It's not white like the other things. So when you are
this stuff's here now, did you write it yourself, or it comes with the git ignore?
I did not write them myself. They come with, if you use Next, like how you do create React app to create a new folder for React. Have you not used create React app before?
No.
Okay,
I've never done it.
if you use create React app, a folder will just get created with some files inside. So all those, something like this will just be inside it.
Okay.
All right. So that's that. Back to the env. We'll put a password. So you just say
Just type password.
Password is equal to
Like this.
I'm coming. Okay, so check the chat here.
Okay.
No, here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so take the whole thing. Okay,
Like
so
that.
yeah, like that. So back to contacts. That's contacts.js.
I bet where you get password?
API is my password.
Where you get to what?
And don't worry, we'll get to understand. So first thing, we imported NodeMailer. The second thing is .env. There is a what do they call that thing? A package in npm. It's called .env. It helps you, will I say, get data from any env files. Okay, so that's what line. Hello, can you not hear me?
I can hear you. Sorry, please. Apart from requiring node mailer, is there any other thing you did? Did you install anything? You just required.
Okay, whenever you see require, that means you have to install that package before you require it. So you see require NodeMailer, you see require.env. These two files need to have been installed. So just to be sure if they are, go down to your package.json and look at it. Package.json.
Down. Go down.
Okay.
Your left.
It's not moving from here. The screen is frozen on my side. The screen is frozen on my side.
Me too.
Can you see now?
Okay, I can see now. Okay, so in package.json you can look at dependencies and dev dependencies to check if something is installed.
It's dependency, I didn't know the
So you see on line 13 there's dependencies. You can see .env in it, and you can see NodeMailer in it. So you are safe.
Once you type this under the dependencies, it means you have installed it.
No, abego, no go edit your dependency list. Oh, please. if you don't see the thing you are looking for in here, then that means you have to install it. So you do npm install blah 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 in terminal.
Okay, on your terminal.
Yes, don't edit the dependencies object. Abego.
No, wait, hold on. Because I don't know this. That's what I'm asking question.
Oh, it's good to ask questions, so don't mind them.
Okay, you see the thing with editing it is that you editing it will not make that thing be installed here. I don't know if you get the point. You need you need those packages. When you install a package, some folders will get downloaded and they will enter that npm modules folder. If you open that npm modules folder now, hey, thank God they brought like. If you open that npm modules folder, you'll see a boatload of folders, packages. Just try it. Go to node modules.
Don't
Try it. Click on it.
Which one?
And scroll down.
That
one. Click on it and scroll down.
Plenty.
Enjoy your scrolling. Okay, so I'm sure you
So all these folders are here already.
Yes, all those folders. The thing is, whenever you install any package, the folders for that package will enter here. But now some of these packages are created with other packages. So that means the dependency of the dependencies. So it will install those ones too. Maybe those ones too might have their own dependencies. Now, so you go just install. That's why whenever you open your node modules folder, you see so many things in there. Even though if you check your package.json, you see very few packages actually.
I will go back to the question that will make me understand this thing very well. Now, when you created this created this folder, this portfolio folder.
Yes.
Now, I think you did something to bring this .nest in, right?
Okay. The process of creating a next app, the easy process of creating a next app is to bootstrap the process. There is a npm command, create next app, npx create next app, you name your app something. And when you do that, files will get downloaded automatically, a folder will be created, and they will create node modules folder, create pages folder. Inside the pages folder, they will create index.js, app.js. You see, all those basic stuff.
Yes.
They will just be created. The git ignore, package.json, package log. They will just be created like that for you.
Bam. This package.json now that is created.
Yes.
When you open it, nothing will be inside here, Abby?
No, something will be inside. Like you see, name of the project will be there, version will be there, private will be there. You will see a few scripts like dev, build, start. These three you will see them. The other three I added them myself. Dependencies, you will see the basic stuff. You will see Next, you will see React, you will see React DOM. I think I added the rest. Dev dependencies, I'm not sure what you see.
Okay. Then the next question is, since you see all those other ones and you added this .env. Before you added the .env, did you do like on your terminal npm.install.env or something before you now added it here?
When you want to install a new package, you don't even have to bother with your package.json. You just go to install it, open terminal and type npm install blah blah blah. It will install, the thing will load, install it, and automatically adds a line to your package.json that this thing is now a dependency for this project. You will not be the one to add it.
So you won't be the one to type this.
You will not be the one to type it. So to test it out, you can try and uninstall something. It will vanish from here and you can install it back. You want to try?
I would like to try.
You like to try? Okay, so open terminal, npm uninstall.env.
Am I at the right place?
Yes, you are. Portfolio Stanley. That's the right folder, sir.
npm
Uninstall.
I've not done uninstall before.
Take heart. .env.
Like this.
Yeah. Enter.
What's the difference between .env and env?
Right? You saw it go away from here, maybe?
Yes, I saw it.
You said what's the difference between what?
Is there any difference between .env and .env? Are we saying the same thing?
GOT.
.env and the symbol .env. Are we saying the same thing?
Which one is symbol?
Symbol is dot, period. The folder we opened here to store your password.
The file is called
file, sorry, not folder, the file.
It's a .env file, something .env. So the person that created the package decided to just be creative and write and call it .env. It's just a package name. It could have been named something else.
It's different.
A package is different from a file now. If you create a file in here called React, is it equal to the package on npm React? It's not now.
No, it's sounding the same thing. Now if you say tell someone to create .env file and then install .env, it's sounding the same.
All the best for you. God.
You want to fight me?
Yes, I want
Clearly.
to. So you've uninstalled it. So try installing it back. npm install.env. There you have it.
I didn't do pull request.
There's no need. I didn't really add anything, and nothing has been changed. So your side is the last place that has made any changes. So okay, so back to the contact.js in the API folder. All right.
Can I close this?
Yeah, you can close that. All right. So imported node mailer because we need node mailer. You see, they could have done const maybe const.env is equal to require.env and then now say .env.config, but they just went ahead to do it on one line. I hope that line is not confusing.
That's require.env.config.
Yes. The line is not confusing.
I you can't tell what it really is. Is it like installing the
.env?
Bringing it in here.
Let's call it bringing it in here, because the function of that .env package is to help you get stuff from any env files in your project. So if you look on line 10, it said process.env.password. So when you require .env and you run this function on what you get from .env, that's .config method, then you can now do process.env.anything you have in that env folder, in that env file. Yes. So because we had something there called password, we had a property there called password, and you can now import it here. This line 2 is just importing .env and at the same time running a function on it to import anything from any env file around here, around this project. So you can
so if you need it,
yeah, you can, if you need anything from it, yeah, you just say process.env.that property and it will just be there. All right. So now export default function blah blah blah. You can either do it like this or you do const. This function is like this, and then at the end you go and say export default that function like you did in React in your pages.
The point, like arrow function.
This one is not really like arrow function, but it could have been an arrow function. You can make it an arrow function if you want. The point is that at the end of the day you have to export default that function. Like it has to be a default export. There is regular export and there is default export. So are you aware on the difference between the two?
No.
You are not. Okay. Let's see. What do we do? So create a file. You see where about, contact, index, works are.
Yes.
Oh no, let's just go to components and do that. Create a file called maybe helper.js. Yeah, in components. Helper.js.
Okay. Like this?
Yeah. No, just JS, no X.
Okay.
So create a variable, export, or let me say const normal export. Yes.
Like this?
Export, yeah, export. Is equal to something in a string. Just put a name or something. Extra. Okay, that's all right. So now in front of that const, put export. So it will now be export const something.
Like this.
No. Is
No,
it
I
not
said in
export?
front, like, okay, is it at the
Mhm.
back on the left of it? So it will be export const something.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's a regular export. Now go down and then do maybe function. Just do an arrow function. Name it something. Const blah 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 equals to blah blah blah. Maybe return 7. Yeah, just return 7. Good. So now under the line 5, say default, export default biscuit. Good. So now you've exported something by default, and you've done a regular export on another thing. So let me see. Let's go to index.jsx.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go to the top, import biscuit. By the time you write it, it's going to even show you where to get it from.
Import
See? Yeah, just click enter. So you import biscuit from components, helper, blah blah blah, because it's a default export. So now after the biscuit on that line 7, put a comma, give a space, and put an empty object.
Like this?
No, after the biscuits, not after the end of the line. The biscuits. Import biscuits. Between biscuit and from, put comma, empty object. So inside there, what did you call that other function, that other variable? Normal export, have you? Yeah, so write
yes,
it.
normal
export. It's even showing there. Good. So when you export something by default, or you do a default export, you just write the name normal, like head, error boundary. Those are default exports. But if you are trying to export or rather import something that was exported normally, you have to put it in brackets, in curly braces. So let me see, maybe on line 9 or so, console log biscuits and normal export. Alright, biscuit is a function, so call the function biscuits. So you can open up your browser and check it there. The page has been open since.
The page.
Like I didn't see you run dev or something. You just came here straight. Show JavaScript console.
I just keep it open.
Wow. You did not off your system yesterday again now. Seriously. Straight up like this. So anyhow, you can see it. Index.js line 9, 7, and extra.
Yeah.
So that is exporting important.
Thank you. So that means even if you create, as you created as you created the you want to make it inside this input, import it. But if it is a normal one, we'll import it using the curly braces.
Yes.
If it's a default one, we'll just import it normal like that with name.
Yeah.
Then we can now make use of it inside this particular file.
So for things like components or APIs, the main thing in that, if it's a component file now, the main component that is there should be a default export. for API, since that function is the main function we want, like if you are trying to access the API, it's that function that should run whatever stuff you are doing. Then it should be a default export. Okay, so you can remove those 3 lines, 7, 8, 9.
Okay. 7.
Yeah, helper.js can go. Yeah. Yeah, so back to contact.js. Okay, so API backend functions, they handle what is called request and response. You make a request to the backend responds with a response. That's why if you look at any backend function, usually you see REQ, RES. Maybe you might see next in between, but at least you will see REQ, request and response. So request holds what was sent in the request. Remember the form data, we are going to send something to the API, right? We'll package those 3 input data, 3 of them, the name, email, message. We'll package it and send to the API, right? So those things now will become the request object. So later on, after working with that request object, we'll now send back a response. Okay, so to use NodeMailer, you have to do something like this on line 5. They like to use transporter. If you check their docs, so anywhere you see somebody using NodeMailer, they will likely use transporter as well. Const transporter is equal to NodeMailer.create transport, and then you now have some what do they call it? Some properties in the object that would hold some data about the email you want to use to be sending mails, the email account you want to use to be sending mails. So every email account has a port, a host. So you just check, like maybe if you want to use Gmail, you check what's the port for Gmail. If you just check online, you'll see those stuff. But I would advise not to use Gmail. Gmail and this NodeMailer, they have issues. Gmail now, they put some security stuff, and I think they removed the way to turn off those security, I think. So they are just annoying. I had to use Zoho Mail. If you see the host, smtp.zoho.com, authorization is now the email and the password. Right? So this is the
this email. SMTP, sorry. Is it the URL for Zoho Mail?
For mails, there is something called hosts and ports.
Okay.
There's just something like that for mail accounts. If you want to find out, you can just Google it for your mail. Like maybe if you're using Yahoo Mail, you say what's the host and port for Yahoo Mail. You will see it online. It might not be 465. It might be something like that. Then the AUTH, the auth, contains the username and password. In this case, the username is the email. So the email I used to send these things is codebu@gmail.com. Sorry, codebu@zohomail.com.
Okay. You've already created this email, right?
Yes, I've created it. I already created it. It's something like this. So maybe if you were doing your own form for your own project, you can create a Zoho Mail, because Zoho Mail worked smoothly. There was no stress at all. Anyhow, the username, the password. So you can understand why we didn't put the password here, because if the password is here, this code is going to be on GitHub. Somebody can just see it and be able to access that email account straight up. So yeah, it's
now let me throw you guys back. The process is either we are tracing back where the password is.
No, I talked about this when we did this require.env. When you do that .config, you can now access any of the properties, any of the values you stored in the .env file by doing process.env.that_property. The process.env is just, will I say, a constant, like something, terminology, right? Like a code word from the env package. To access something from any of the env files, you say process.env.that stuff. So we name the property, password. So we say process.env.password. If you named it maybe database URL, the process.env.database URL. The process.env is a constant thing there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But there's no way someone can write a code to get it, to get whatever it is.
No. They can write it.
Not
When you eventually host this thing, let me say on Vessel, because Vessel is like the best place to host NextJS projects. At the point of hosting, there will be a part that will ask you if you have any environment files. You say yes. They will now tell you, they will bring out inputs for you. What is the property? What is the value? You write it. So it will not be in the code at all. Instead, it will be on the server. Aside from, somebody is not going to access that.
okay.
So these ones are something you just copy and edit. Transporter is equal to node mailer create transport. You just fill in the required details. Maybe you might just check online, what are the let me say, to use, what are the functions of all of these things, like what does secure do, what does host do, what does ports do, maybe just to understand it. So all of this is just configuration for the mail you are trying to use to be sending the mails, the mail account you are trying to use to be sending the mails. Alright, so now in line 14, we now have mail data. You are trying to arrange the mail you want to send. How should the mail look like? So mail data, an object, we have a from. The from should be that mail account you set up here, like in line 5. So you see user in that transporter object is codegiu@zohomail.com. So that would definitely be the from for line 15, from codegiu@zohomail.com. Then 2, that means where you want to be receiving the mails. So maybe as this portfolio now is for somebody, that Stanley guy now, maybe when I finally get his email, it will be maybe something like stanley@gmail.com, something like that. So from would be, it could still be my codegiu@zohomail.com. 2 would have to be his own account, where you want to finally get the mails in. Okay, so subjects, maybe message.
Sorry, let me ask something. Sorry. This line 9 now, this user, is it also going to is it also going to represent the email address of the person that is going to fill that form?
No. We don't know anything about who is filling the form. None of these.
It's about that form.
At least for this line 5, that one has no business with the request data. Remember I told you all those things that will be filled in the inputs are request data. So it's in this mail data you now begin to see them. You can see rec.body.name, rec.body.message, rec.body.email. It's line 17, line 18.
18 and okay.
So this is where this mail data on line 14 comes. Mail data is where you are trying to organize the mail that you send. How should the mail look like? So mails have different properties. They have a from a mail is sent from somewhere to somewhere. So from at zohomail.com to at gmail.com. The subject of the mail has to be something. There has to be text on the mail, right?
Sorry. Just please. First and foremost, whenever someone fills that form, since it is a request, right? It first of all goes to this Google email address before
No,
it gets.
forget about this Google email address. Okay, to send a mail, you have to have an account you are sending the mail from, the mail you want to send, and the account you are sending the
Yes.
mail to, right? So the
Yes.
things that happened
Yes.
on line 5 to 13 are just you trying to organize the mail account you are sending the mail from. You've not even started talking about the mail you are sending yet. You just want to organize, first of all, where are you sending this thing from? It's like you are sending a package to Lagos from Abuja. What pack do you want to use? Those kind of talk. That's what this line 5 to 13 is. It's like saying, okay, organize. We are going to, what do they call it? JIG Motors. You are not bothered about what the package is. Is it a box? Is it a bag? The question is, what
Okay.
pack are you going to send this message? That's what this line 5 to 13 is about.
Okay.
Okay, so on line 17 you see subject. You notice that mails have subject and then body.
Yes.
So you can decide on what the subject for those mails should look like. I went with message from whoever the name is or whatever the person's name is, and to get the name, request.body.name. The .body, you get to understand that when you see the code for making the request on the front end. There's a property there that is called body. It's in that body property that you now put the object that is holding the form values. So request dot that property body, since it's an object, dot name. So that will give you the name that was filled into the form, and then the text. Request.body.message, whatever was sent. Then you see this. Okay, let's leave these first. Later on, when we're trying live examples, we can try to adjust the things in this text and then see how they will change.
Okay.
So the HTML that you see here is an optional property. These other ones they have to be there. There has to be a from, there has to be a to, there has to be subject, there has to be text, because these are just necessary for sending a mail.
Yeah.
But the HTML property is optional. If you notice, sometimes you see mails. That's what I'm going to say. Sometimes you see mails from some companies and you see images, you see some kind of flashy designs in the mail. It doesn't look like something that somebody just typed and just starts it, they just sent. There's a little bit of arrangement inside. I don't know if you understand. Maybe.
Is it like the signature where you, like, some people they have their company logo and then their signature?
That kind of company logo kind of thing. That's where the HTML comes in. So you can design HTML, just write inline CSS, just simple stuff to make something look the way you want it to look. You can even put pictures in there if you want. So I just tried it out to see how far. If you look, you see there's a div, a p tag, another p tag, something like that. Anyhow, that's just mail data. And then on line 22, it's now the main thing. You have a pack you want to send your waybill from. You have the waybill itself. So the pack is the transporter. On line 22, you see transporter and you see mail data, right? So transporter is the pack that is sending the message, the waybill, and mail data is the thing you are sending itself, the box or bag or whatever. So transporter.send mail, you send mail data, and then there is a function to describe what happens after the mail is after the transporter attempts to send the mail, what should happen? So two parameters, error and info. So if error, because you know all this kind of sending stuff now is either there's an error or there's not an error. So if
like if someone made the mistake while filling the form or filled the wrong thing, is it like that?
Or maybe if there was network error and the thing was not able to send, or if you know all these kind of things, anything can go wrong. Something from somewhere, something will not work. So anyhow, if at all there's an error, me I just added the console log so that me I will see the error myself. You now respond back to the front end. Response.status. Oh, I should change that to 100. It shouldn't be 200.
What does it represent?
200. If you look up HTML status codes, you see different numbers mean different things. 200 means okay, like everything worked, everything succeeded as it should. Error should be like 400 or so, or 500, that kind of thing. Maybe 401. So I think that's
HTML.status code.
I think let's even go to the browser and look that up. So we'll write the correct thing. So let me say, just search Google HTML status codes. Cassie, this one that would not hear your voice. Stay there with us.
She's there.
I went to make some calls. I'm back now.
Welcome back. Yeah. Yeah. Speak the first one.
The first one.
Yeah. First one. Okay. So you see a brief summary of the whole thing. Informational responses 100 to 199, successful responses 200 to 299, redirection 300 to 399, client error 400 to 499, server error 500 to 599. So if you scroll down, you get they blow everything up. So you see those information responses. Those ones you rarely see them, sure. So successful responses 200 is okay, the request succeeded, no wahala. 201, you probably tried to create something. So yeah, that thing was created. So anyhow, scroll down to the 400s. Let's see which one looks like our error. Okay, bad request, unauthorized, forbidden, not found. The best one should be that bad request. Yes, the server cannot or will not process the request due to something that is perceived to be a client error. Yeah, so that's the best one. So we use 401.
401 or 400.
Oh, right, it's 400. Good, it's true, 400. Sorry.
So I changed it to 400.
Yes. So I don't want to talk too much about the function, the res.status function, but that's so we see them for backend. Res.status 400 .json error. The .json is like it's going to send back that error in JSON format. Okay, so you can get that JSON object and parse it and look at it in the front end. So whenever you send something to a server through an API, you send a request, you will definitely get a response. As long as that thing is properly made, there will be a response. So it might be an object, most likely it's an object. We like making it objects. Even if there's only one property inside, it will be an object. So usually someone that makes good APIs would put, what do they call those things? I've forgotten the word they actually use, but they will put some kind of description. They will send you a description, or maybe they will point you to a link where you find a description of the API. The things the API needs, like, you know, this one now, when you are sending, you need a name, you need an email, you need a message, right? That's what the API is expecting. Yeah. That's what this code here is expecting. Then what it will send back to you, they should also write that in their description. So if it's an error, you should see an object looking like this. If it's a success, you should see an object looking like this, something like that, because you need to know those things to write your code properly. Okay, so first of all, before we continue, I just remembered on line 18, anything that has to do with phone, please remove it.
Anything that has to do with what?
Phone.
Phone.
Yeah,
That's
so you see
phone.
like, thank you, go observe. You see after rec.body.email there's a plus, blah blah blah. So just start from that plus and delete down.
Like this.
No. After rec.body.email. Still on line 18, you're looking on the wrong place.
Yes, that is from here now.
That's message now. Go forward a bit. You see, if you shift forward a bit, you see rec.body.email.
Yeah.
On line 18 now.
18. Okay, here.
The plus after it. Start from the plus after it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, take that. Delete that.
Then include the plus.
Yeah, you should include the plus, but you can delete and continue going back. Yeah.
Okay.
So I put a comma.
The comma.
Yeah. Okay, so the HTML, let me see. Yeah, the things that have to do with phone. There's a p tag after the one for rec.body.email. After sent from this email. Exactly. Delete from there.
Like this.
Yes.
Without okay.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so back to the 25. Yes, if there's an error, respond with the status of 400 and send that error in JSON format. Else, status of 200, respond with status of 200 and send info. Okay, so let's change that to, do you have an email you don't mind us checking when we send this? Okay, so in that too, put it there.
I'll put it.
Okay, so we can go back to the front-end code. So now we are done with this back-end code.
Okay.
No, the front-end code.
Front-end code.
Yeah, like contact.js, whatever the section was. Yeah. Okay, so handle submit is looking grayed out. Why is that?
Which one?
On line 12, handle submit, that gray color is showing that it's not being called anywhere.
This is contact.
This is contact. Okay, I think you were working in a component.
Hello, Stereo. Why do we have meta tag there?
Meta tags. It's a page.
Now. Go back.
Go back, so you look at it. Have you heard of SEO? Search engine optimization.
No.
Okay.
SEO.
Yes.
SEO.
You should have heard
Yeah,
of
I've seen it. I don't know the meaning.
Search engine optimization. Anyhow, this is just head. Next has this component head. If you import, you see line 1, import head from next head. Things that you can normally write in the head of your HTML document, you can now write them, in here. So you see title. If you check a regular
HTML it's like
document,
index.html. Okay, React has their
okay, you see that public folder, open it, there's an HTML file there. No HTML file. So where is now the HTML file?
What did you do?
Scroll down. Scroll down first. There has to be an HTML file somewhere.
Maybe this one replaced it. This header that you have here.
I mean, Next doesn't have HTML file. Why me
Looks
mistaken?
like it.
Since they don't have. Okay, they don't have. Oh, that's interesting.
Are you just finding out?
I had forgotten. Maybe I've gotten so used to using React that I've forgotten that they don't have. Okay,
Hey, React has
but anyhow, no worries. That's folder. That's browser. The thing that is loaded on the browser, the page that is loaded on the browser. Just check the code for that. Yes, there. Check the code for that, like those developer tools or something. Web inspector. I think it should be that. There are elements. So you see the head tag. Open the head tag on the very left. Right. So can you see if you can extend there?
It's not extending.
It's not extending. Okay. But anyhow, you can see meta, title, all those stuff that we put in that head, and they will show up here in the head tag of the HTML document. So those metas, they serve purposes for different. They serve different SEO purposes. Like, okay, let's go back to the code, since it's showing clearer there. Okay, for example, see this one that is description. Have you noticed that some what do they call it? Some links, when you paste them on WhatsApp or Twitter or some of these, what do they call them? Some of these sites, some kind of description will come out. You will see the title of that page. So title will be Stanley UI UX designer. That will be bold. Then you might now see a description under it. So this description, anywhere that can allow you to see description of the site. In fact, in Google itself, if you do see the site on Google, this description, which is what we show. You know how in Google, you don't just see a link. You see a title, and then you see a description. So that's what these two are for. And you see this one, Google site verification. To get your site indexed on Google, you do something, you go to one Google Search Console online, something like that. They will give you this code, this meta online 21 as it is, tell you to put it on your site. When you put it on your site, they will find it, and then they will add you to the list for indexing. It's not just that once you create a page, it will just show up on Google immediately. You would have to, most times you have to request indexing from Google. So they need to be sure that you own the site. You understand? That you do have the right to request indexing from them. So that's the point of this site verification meta. Then,
how can you get it? Just browse.
You go to Google search for Google Search Console. When you get there, do look for something like those ones are not necessary. Like, you can check it later. Okay, so that's that about head. Yeah, you can go back to contact section. Okay, so let's try it out with async await.
Okay, is it after line 27?
First of all, you have to make the function an async function. So before that bracket E on line 24, right? Async. Yep. So after line 26, let's see. what do we call this now? Maybe response, right? Const response is equal to await fetch. So in an async function, anything that will return a promise, you await it. You say something is equal to await that thing that should return a promise, and things will work smoothly. So the fetch is a method. So it can take one or two parameters. One parameter if it's a get request and you don't need to ask for send any on any details. The first parameter is usually the API link, and in this case it's next. We have our API right here in the project, so it will be /API/ the name of the file. It's a string.
This you don't have the file.
It was contact. If you open the yes.
Give me 1 second. There's something I sent to you on WhatsApp right now. Please help me explain it.
You can't merge. So
I can't merge.
The code doesn't have any merge conflicts. However, some people put, will I call it, checks on GitHub. So when you push to a certain branch, those checks would run. It's like tests. You know, you can write tests for code.
Yes.
Maybe this and this should, if this happens, it's expecting to get this, something like that. So some people put tests in their GitHub such that when you push to any branch or whatever branch, those tests will be run on the code. If the checks fail, you can't merge, and that's what's happening. They said all checks have failed, or be something like that. The checks on this thing have failed. So go and find the people that wrote the checks and ask them what the checks are about, so you know what to correct in your code. Or you can look there for the error message. What check failed? Why it failed?
I went to the details actually. It's actually under build project. I think someone wrote one cloud related something under the stuff.
Go and meet them and ask them how far.
It will.
Alright, so fetch, the first thing in the fetch is the API link. So we have /API/contact. Then after that you put a comma and create an empty object. So the second thing in fetch functions is an object. You can write things in that object. Yeah, so you can open the object down to the next line. Just a moment. Okay, so for when you are sending something, there are a few methods, post, get, put, I think there's patch. Have you heard of these methods before?
I've only heard of that get and
posts.
So I don't really know what they're post, but I don't really know.
Those two are the very common ones. So a get method signifies you are trying to get something from the server, like yes. So usually, let me say you are fetching content to populate something, like maybe you are creating an e-commerce site. You want to get data on the database about the products in there. That will be a get method. You're just sending a request. Please send me the data you have from this place. But posts, Posts means you are sending data to the server, to the database, to the backend, right? And that's what's happening here. We're packaging data to send to the backend. So the method is post. The other ones, put, patch, they are kind of, should we say, offshoots of posts. Those ones are like trying to modify an entry in the database. So let me say you have an entry like this is somebody's name, age, email, password, blah blah blah. You can now put maybe a post method to change the age. Yes, the person is no more 20 years, now he's 22 years. Yeah. Those kinds of things. But the main ones to keep in mind are get and post. So method.
I should just write method.
Yeah, this is an object. So method, the value is post in string. You can see it's showing up here. So there was no SO. You start writing, you see it show up. Method, yeah.
Hello.
It's a string.
I have to go.
Okay, no problem.
Let me resolve some issues.
No wahala.
I don't know.
Alright, later. Okay.
Like this?
Yeah, like that. So, comma.
Okay.
Body. That's the next.
Body.
This one will not be a string. This one, since we are using JSON, you know of JSON, have you?
It looks like an object, but both the value and both the value and the property would have will be put in string.
Right. So JSON, the meaning is just JavaScript stringified object notation. Okay. So when you are sending data, usually we use JSON. So you have to stringify it. So you do JSON.stringify. The JSON is in caps.
Yeah.
So in it you can put something. Put in a brackets. So what are we sending?
We are sending the we're sending the details gotten from the.
Okay, so currently how can we access those details? What variable or something can we see those details in?
Form values.
Exactly, form values. So remember when we console form values yesterday, it was an object that had three things: name, email, message, which is exactly what we need to send. So JSON.stringify form values. Okay, so comma and more headers. Another property. It's called headers. Okay, so headers is an object. Headers, sometimes you need to pass in extra details about the request. In some cases, like maybe you're trying to access Google API or some of these big companies, their API, you would need to, will I say, when you are making a request, they need to know who is making the request. So there will be a space to pass in a token. The token represents the user. So from that token on their end, they can tell that this is the person making this request. So they know, what to do, what to give you. Something like that. So
That's
all those kind of.
As a user.
Yeah?
Is it as a user or as the person that wrote the code?
The person that wrote the code would make, well, if you were the one writing the code, let's say you're trying to access Google's API for something, for some reason, You would have to pass along a token. For some of these, once you are making a request to anything in their API, anything on their backend, you have to pass a token along. They call it bearer token. So the token identifies the user making the request. It just has to be. So some of that and some other kind of situations where you need to send additional information about your request, that's what headers is for. So in this situation,
sorry, to get this token, do you have to register, sign up, and all of that? Then they will not send the token.
Yes, for those places that use token, you have to sign up to get the token. Okay, so let me paste something here. You put it in that object.
It's long.
Two things in there. Accept, so it accepts application JSON and content type application JSON, something like that.
Like this?
Yeah, push the accept down.
Push the accept down.
Like just press enter before the accept, yeah. Okay, and then the closing brace should also go down.
This one here?
No, closing curly brace. At the end of line 32. Good. So this is it. This is what we are sending, right? So after line 34, console log response.
Sorry, this accept. Accept. We accept. It doesn't matter what you name it, Abby.
No, they matter. There are set properties for headers.
Property.
Yeah.
Okay. To accept applications. This application slash JSON. Is it here?
No. It's about type. What type of file? What type of thing is it? Should it be expecting something like that?
Okay, so it can either be an application slash JSON or a plain text.
I think you should even remove that plain text and the other ones. Just leave only application JSON there. No, just leave it. Let's not do crazy things. So most of these things, if you are really curious as to how they work, why they work, you can hunt them down, search it. So console log response.
Where?
After line 34.
After line 34.
Yeah. So far in the submit code, we did e.prevent default to prevent the default operation, behavior of the submit button. Then we just logged form values to have a look and see what form values looks like. Then we've created response. Response is what we are going to get back from making this fetch request to the API. Right? So now we want to see what that response looks like.
It's going to look like. Okay.
So I said console log response. Okay. So let's go to the form and write something.
Okay. I can take this.
Take it to JavaScript console because you're expecting to see something in the console.
These things on the console. Okay. I can type away.
Yeah. This thing is still black.
Aye. Let me just change it now, please.
Not there. Input container, line 56. That's the one directly containing the inputs. So. Okay.
Right.
So
Let's
election,
submit.
election and holiday. Abi? Yeah, submit.
Okay.
Okay, that was line 26. Good. So the one we're looking for is 35. So that's what the response looks like. So click the arrow to open it up. So we'll see everything inside. Okay, so the main thing we want inside it is the body. But you can see what they said about the body. Body, readable string. So now we have to look into a method to get proper data from that readable string. I don't know, they started doing that thing recently. Readable string. I don't know why they started it from. But now every API is trying to access the response is the body of the response is always readable string. So you can see some more
What does that
details.
mean?
Readable stream is one type of format like that. It's kind of encrypted format. You need to do some things to unencrypt it.
Access it.
Weird stuff. So you can see some extra things. Status 200. Status text okay. Alright. So you could possibly do something like that. Means straight up you can check, you can even check from here whether it's an error or not. If status is 200, you know it's an error.
No error.
Something like that. But let's keep on going and check your mail right now and see if you got the mail, since it sent back 200. Okay, message from Joyce. So you can open it up and see how it looks. Happy holidays sent from blah blah blah. So when we're done adjusting the front end stuff, we'll go back and look at the back end and see, play around with things to make this thing maybe look different or something. Maybe try putting pictures in there, something like that.
Okay. So it was okay. This is the person's email. This is the name of the person that sent it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, cool. Should I go back to the code?
Yes, back to the code. Okay, so now we have the readable stream and we want to do something about it. So I think it's dot text, right? It's dot text. Scroll up to that code again, the function, submit function.
Submit function.
I'm not seeing the end of the submit function. Okay, so response is what we get back from the listing. I think just a moment, let me check somewhere and confirm. There's a method that you would run. I've forgotten whether you run it on text itself or on text.body. Sorry, on response itself or on response.body, because you know it's response.body that is the readable string, not response. But weird things happen once in a while. Crazy things are happening. Crazy things are happening. You need somebody's face. You drop somebody's face. Okay, I think it's on response itself. Okay, it's on response itself.
Okay.
So let's see. So before line 34, you say
Okay.
yeah, no, not there. You are still inside the response this thing. So you, yeah, there. Hey, yeah, you're doing the same thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need a new variable name now.
For the body.
For what we're going to get back. Okay, dot body, so maybe, but body is just weird. Let me say
Body.
maybe response body, const response body, or let's try that. So const response body is equal to await response dot text.
Response dot.
Nothing is moving on the screen now.
text. Can you see it now?
No.
Let me stop sharing and share it.
Alright.
Can you see it now?
Still kind of loading, Sha. But yeah, I can see something behind. But nothing is moving. It's still a bit paused.
Let me get back to you. Maybe I'm far away from the internet. Can you see it now?
Still frozen. Sure, if you move your mouse around, okay. Yeah, I'm seeing it. So const response body is equal to await response.text. Yeah, the dot text is a method. Okay. So you can see promise string, you're expecting a promise. So in your console log response body instead. Okay, so we go and try again on the browser.
I see or not, but I have to refresh.
Yes. So this is a JSON object. See a bunch of, you can tell that it's an object. You can see a bunch of things inside. Accepted is an array, I think. Yeah, it's an array showing the mail that was sent to, showing the mails that worked, like it successfully sent to these mails. But since in our tool we only put one mail, so only one mail will get it. Rejected is an empty array. Time, I guess maybe time to send, I guess this 799. Message time, I'm not sure. This all these sizes, blah 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 blah. Okay, from so so and so to so so and so, message ID. So
Can you just give me like 1 minute, just like 1 second, or I just want to tell someone I can't join the call.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody organize. Some of us are wise.
I'm back.
Alright, so you can see that response body is difficult to access it
Okay.
because it's in JSON format. It's not really an
Okay, that's why
object. That's why it's looking white in your console. You see the other object up on line 26. It's showing properly, name, every colors everywhere. But this one is just white.
yes.
So what do you think you can do to it to get it to be a normal object again?
To get it to be a normal object again,
Yeah, right now it's
You-
JSON.
I think we can do the JSON dot pass.
Alright, so try it out.
Can't remember. I can't really remember. I think it's JSON.
Instead of doing it in the console log,
Uh,
change something. Maybe you can say response body is equal to, okay, actually to be safe, actually you should use a different
a different name.
name.
Okay.
If you use the same name, it will still work, but my mind has been going to TypeScript recently. In TypeScript, it won't work. Or you will have trouble. You will have to do extra
Will
things
it
to
work
make
if
it
I
work.
use the same name and still use const?
No, it won't work because it will be like trying to reassign the variable or redeclare the variable.
Readable response. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's alright. Okay, so you console log.
It's okay like this.
Yes, it's okay like that. Okay. So you can try again in the browser. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So we get something looking nice that we can properly access. So this is the very basic or very basics of this whole thing. But if you begin to use it for a while, maybe share it for some users to use, you begin to see some small errors. For example, you notice that when you click the button, there's a delay before this response comes.
Yes.
So what if in the middle of that delay somebody pressed the button again?
The submit button again.
Yes. You see,
It happens though. You just to be sure.
Exactly.
You press it again.
Wahala like that can happen. That's one issue. Another issue is, okay, you press the button, you are seeing the console, so you can tell, or maybe you can kind of tell that something is happening. But not every user has the patience to just click and maybe wait for 5 seconds to be sure that something is happening. Sometimes you need something visual to tell them that yes, hang on, the process has actually started. Just chill a bit for a response. So normally maybe you could put, for example, 3 dots in front of the submit form and maybe change what is written there to submitting the form. Right? So somebody seeing submitting the form on the button would chill and say, okay, yeah, the form is submitting at the moment. So that means once you click the form, once you click the submit button, what is written on it should change to submitting the form till a response comes back, then it will change back to submit form. You see that clears up a bit of that issue. Now another problem. Yes, you submitted the form, but the things you wrote on the form are still there looking at you. Like now, exactly. They are still there looking. So that needs to happen. I think there was also one more thing. Yes, there was one more thing. In case of an error, so far network is good, everything is working well. We click, we get response, a good response in fact. But what if the message did not send? What happens then? In fact, yes, what if it did send? How does the person know that his mail is sent? Because he's not going to get a mail. The one that fills this form, the Frank that filled this form, is not getting a mail back telling him, thank you for your response, we have received your mail. No, it's not getting that. He's just going to click, nothing will happen, and then he will say, I don't even know if this will got my message, and walk away. So that's another thing we need to think about. An error message or success message after getting a response. There should be one of that. So where do we start with?
I have no idea.
We'll start with the simple one. Clear the form. If there's
Clear form.
Yes, if there's a success message, the form should be cleared. Maybe it's if there's an error that you can leave the things on the form because the person is going to try to maybe adjust the things or try the request again, right?
Okay.
But if it's a success, definitely there's no need for those things to continue to be on the form. So the form should be cleared.
Okay. Sorry, how are we writing? Is it inside here?
And now we need this is a conditional. So now we need some conditions. So I think we can start from after the response. After doing const response is this, then we can now say if response dot status, because remember that time when we console logged, no, it will be above that, immediately after our response. Remember how that time we console logged response, we saw a bunch of things in it.
Yes, was white.
Yes. No, that was response body that was white. I mean the first
response body.
I mean the first time we console logged response.
Yes,
that we saw that body. We saw that body was readable stream. We now saw status 200, status text. Okay.
Yes. So, okay.
So you see now we can, from there we can already tell whether this request was a success or not.
Success or not.
So we can now say if response dot status is equal to 200, because if it is a success, it's going to, the status is going to be 200. So those three things that were there now, pack them and put in there. The 38, 39, 40, these should happen if it's a success.
It's
so you can throw them in here.
How do I format it?
37 and 38, just mark a bit. Actually, you could have, if you just mark 37 and 38, just let the marking touch the line and you press tab to shift.
Okay.
So you can now say else. No.
Sorry.
Okay, so this else is for if it's a failure.
At this if part, shouldn't we clear it also?
If part, shouldn't it clear it? I don't understand the clear it.
Like if it, like to clear the form if it is successful.
Oh right, it's here that we should clear it, if it's successful. So 39, you can now write. So how do you think you should clear it? Remember that you created a state to manage the values of the inputs. So as long as you change that state, what is showing on the inputs will change.
As long as what?
As long as that state is changed, what is showing on those inputs will change as well.
Change. Oh, okay. So
see that line 6, you did not comment it out after all. You did not uncomment it. No wonder that thing was giving that error that time. That's why anytime you write on the email input, you get an error saying this thing was changed from an uncontrolled input to a controlled input.
Okay.
Because email was not there originally.
And we already put the this thing. We already
function,
put the function inside the email tag for input tag for email.
Okay, so how are you resetting the form? Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.
Set form this. Maybe we'll say the set form values should return initial form values.
Okay, so try it out.
Here.
Yeah.
What will I put here? Is it
Set state functions can take either a variable or a function. So in this situation, you have a variable you want to pass in, so you can just put the variable like that.
variable? Hello, I can't hear you again. What did you say?
Set state functions can take either a variable or a function, like either a direct value or a function. In this case, you have a variable that you want to pass, so you can just put it there directly.
Okay. Like this?
No, just no. Like, there was no need for the curly braces.
Lost. Eh?
There's no need for the curly braces. Just like
okay,
this.
so this is
in the other place, we did not have a variable to pass, like just a variable. We wanted a function. So we now added the prev state, the arrow function in here that will return something.
Yeah. Maybe okay. And then we added this and this value and this thing.
Okay, so to save time, my battery is at 19%, so we can just touch one more error before we go for today. So
this for the else.
I don't think we have time for that. For now, it's the button. That's what I talked about for the button. The button should show that something is happening.
Yes.
While you are waiting. So we're going to create a state. You will call it is submitting.
Okay.
And the initial value will be false. So the idea is that when the form is being submitted, that state is submitting will be set to true, and once a response comes back, is submitting will change back to false. So if is submitting is false, what is showing on the button will be submit form. If is submitting is true, what will be showing on the form will be form is submitting, or submitting form ...
Okay.
So that means for that short interval while you are waiting for a response, the button should show something different. Yes.
Is submitting form. Okay.
So create the states.
The states. Okay.
Creating state always happens inside the function component. That one that I did outside, in fact, since it's confusing you, please carry initial form values and come inside the function. Yeah, so time is going on.
Okay. Sorry, how do I go about it again?
You have an example on line 14.
What will be inside it?
Two things. One is the state, the other is the set state function. So I said the name of the state is submitting. So usually the pattern is whatever the name of the state is, the function, the setting state function will just be set that thing.
Okay.
Of course, you can name your things anyhow you want to, but this is just the
best way to go about it.
This is the standard that is usually used. So if you do anything different, people will look at you crazy. So use states with an initial value inside. What do you want the function, the state to start as?
Yeah. Is it merely this one?
You are not ready to go back to the place now. Yes.
Okay. Maybe we should start as submit form.
No. I said is submitting is something that is true or false. If it's false, you see something on the button. If it's true, you see something else on the button. So just from the name, is submitting. You can tell which of the two should start now.
It should start with false.
Yes, it should start with false because when the page loads, the form is not being submitted. So it should only change once somebody clicks the submit button. So where do you think you should put the first change, the change to true?
I think it should be here. Here? No. Somewhere around here. So I'm not so sure.
Exactly. Well, it's just before the fetch. That means somewhere on line 28 or so. The first thing in the submit function definitely has to be e.prevent default. So after that or before the fetch, then you can set is submitting to true. Remember, it's set. You're not just saying this state is equal to something. You are setting. Look at line 42 again and look at your line 28. I mean 29. Line 42 is the correct way to do a set state function. Okay, so you've clicked the button, you set state to true. When should the button change back to false?
When the person has received, when the response has been received and it is successful.
Okay, so you can put it after line 37.
After line 37?
Yes, because the thing with await is that in this async await, the function stops at that await until the thing is resolved before it continues. So you set is submitting to true just before you made the fetch request. The function is going to wait there until the request sends back something, and then it will now continue. And the moment it continues, you set back is submitting to false. Okay, so we've created a state and we have managed to change it, but currently this state is not being linked to anything on the page. So you can scroll back down, scroll down.
Your battery.
Oh, this thing they run fast though, 10%. Sharp. Okay, so the button, you see that submit form that is written like the main thing, white.
Yes.
So push the submit form down to the next line. The button closing tag down to the next line as well. Shift tab to push it back. Shift tab, hold shift, press tab. So the submit form, wrap it in curly braces. You do a ternary there. Curly braces are used when you want to write a value, a variable inside. So anyhow, do a ternary. Is submitting, it should return, if it is true, it should return submitting form ... else return submit form. You know how to do ternaries now. No, you do it inside the brackets, inside the curly braces.
Here like this.
Okay, in fact, remove the submit form since it's confusing you. So make it a ternary. Is submitting, yes. So if is submitting is true, so quotes. Not true. Not true. It's about what it returns. So if it's submitting is true, it will return something else. If it is false, it will return something else. So what should it return if it is true?
If it is true, it should return submitting.
Submitting form ... So in quotes, it's a string. Okay, so this is conditional rendering. Rendering based on a value. If a value or a function or something is truthy, do this, return this. If it is not, return that. So just keep it in your mind, this conditional rendering. So save and let's look sharply.
Okay.
Okay, so just sharply write something.
Okay.
Also, you see change submitting form, and once the response comes back, it's in the waste time. Yeah, this thing has failed. This wait is too long. It has failed.
It's not the network.
It has failed. Refresh the page and refresh your network sharply. Let's see. Check your network and be sure that it's going on. Maybe try opening another page before you write something.
Yeah, it's going.
Okay. Let's try sharply. I want 5%. Okay, 7% now. This thing will end before this thing finishes. Come on. Aha. So you change back. You see everything went away. Good. So that's it. Bye-bye.